It's really only every once in a good while that you can actually consider something to be so great that it changes your perspective on everything. Whenever someone comes to me with the question of what I would call a masterpiece, the first thing that pops into my head are the songs that leave me breathless, the animes that have left me on the edge of my seat, and of course the video games that leave me in awe. But I never could quite grasp a good explanation of what a masterpiece should be, and that certainly changes from person to person, along with whatever they would call a masterpiece. I've watched nearly 50 minutes worth of a man explaining why Hunter x Hunter is in so many ways a masterpiece twice. Once when I thought that the show was just a lazy copy-pasted shonen, and once again right after I finished watching the entire show and realized that the 50-minute video didn't even scratch the surface of what made this show so stunning on every level. On the opposite side of that spectrum, I've been in entire Discord calls where one guy is trying his hardest to convince everybody that The Room is actually such a train wreck that all the bad pieces of the movie end up being its own masterpiece for missing so many of the marks.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
It's like taking one step further from the definition of beauty. You're captivated. You're enthralled. And there's just a ton of different answers to that question. Some of them even throwing me off, as even to some people, even your own child could be a masterpiece. Which kind of makes sense, actually. They're basically your reboot card with your guidance. A look at yourself without seeing all the flaws? I don't know. I basically know next to nothing about kids. I guess for me, the beginning of 2018 was probably one of my lowest points. I had a really hard time figuring out who I was or where I even belonged in this world. I always had this feeling that I had no place in doing anything I was doing, that I had no reason to exist at all even. Some days I'd be fine, and others, like being hit with a brick of emotional energy, I would just spend the entire day wondering when and if I could finally get out of everyone's way for good. It was around this time I decided to play a visual novel that everyone seemed to think was an edgy deconstruction of the genre. While expecting it to be akin to something of a creepypasta game, actually what I got out of it was a very endearing story that unironically got me invested in this cliché cast of anime characters. I ended up seeing them less as a bunch of characters and cared about them and their well-being after a certain point. I stopped waiting for the spooky moment when all these characters would turn into blood or try to kill me or something, and I actually enjoyed the ride, which is something I found beauty in. This crafted environment is just a place where I can sit back and have a good time exploring. A dating sim, while a bit crude, actually made me enjoy it while waiting for all the scary moments to happen. There's this character that always has this cheery exterior, but on the inside has a bit of a darker side to them, a depressing point of view that seems to have no reason for it. While they express this over-the-top happy-go-lucky attitude with a cherry on top, the real character underneath felt hollow and an empty person who doesn't seem to know why they even bothered getting up in the morning. I remember slowly shifting my perspective to mocking their outlook with indifference, to empathizing with their problems, to genuinely yet terrifyingly realizing that I was looking into a mirror that I was too afraid to admit. You see, it's pretty easy to get caught up in the idea that everything you interact with isn't actually a person. It's just another means to keep you entertained. It can allow you to disconnect with characters that you find in different forms of media. I really think that the internet is good at that, as various video games and television shows have a wide variety of memes surrounding them, slowly yet surely diluting the original, forcing it to be another caricature of something you find familiar. But staring me in the face before all the memes or funny moments was a character I could relate to. Someone I can just see as a person, rather than just being another character. Now, I don't bring this up because DDLC is a masterpiece to me. I did like the game, and I still think that the character is very well written, as is the game. But I bring that up to convey that around the time I actually did consider this character masterfully done. I kinda don't even want to go back and ruin my opinion by replaying the game due to my taste inevitably changing since then. But the point still stands because from there, things like Undertale and Hunter x Hunter have filled these voids. Undertale for being the narrative about quirky and weird people that you encounter, having the chance to charm you with their enjoying presences. A truly compelling story that draws me in with its weird premise, yet keeps me due to how lovable the creatures I encounter become so endearing by the end. It's also got the best music in any game I've ever played. Fight me. Hunter x Hunter, while in the same camp of having a lovable cast of characters, tells these dark and grueling stories about how some characters can go through their darkest moments of their life, brutal and scarring moments, but can always have a chance to smile again despite it all. A show that truly knows how to take you through the ups and downs of life at its extremes through the course of a narrative arc. I mean, to me, it seems like a masterpiece takes your mind to a level of understanding that changes your worldview. It creeps into your mind and settles itself into another part of you in a way. It's a strong reason why I think it's so hard to find a masterpiece. It honestly feels like one only comes around every phase of my life. I can even harken back to things that I would consider a masterpiece at one point, but that usually changes as I slowly become a new person over time. I don't really think that it's fair to judge someone based off of the things that they like. After all, different people like different things based off a variety of different reasons. And it's not always the fact that it's popular. If it resonates with a bunch of people, then maybe that's just something a lot of people need in their life at that time. Or maybe it's just mainstream garbage or someone's kid or something. I mean, I don't know, man. But after all, a masterpiece is something that you consider a part of yourself. So maybe that's why it's so hard to explain. Videos like these usually don't get too many views, but they're most of the reason why I continue making YouTube content at all. They're not only an excuse for me to talk about a topic that's been weighing on my mind, but also a way for me to express myself in ways that I'm unable to in everyday life. So excuse me if it really seems like I'm ranting in my ramblings, because I kinda am in a way. The topic of the video is just an excuse for me to talk in the first place. And if you made it this far on this part of the video, then I'm more than grateful that you've come and heard me out. In a world where it's so easy to think that you're small and insignificant, it actually means a lot that there's someone out there listening. So thank you. But have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.